There we go, mate. Mike Lewis. How you doing, buddy?
Do an episode.
Let's do it.
Let's do an episode.
Inside with Brett Hawke, Mike Lewis. What's happening?
Not much, man. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. It's been too long, man. We've needed to do this for a while, but I think the timing is perfect. Everything has aligned, and we're going to dig into it, man. So I'm excited about this.
Good shovel.
So how did let's do this. Let's go back to how you and I first met. What about that? Like it was in San Diego, right?
I think so. I think you were out here doing some work with David Marsh when he was had his pro group out here.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of those situations where when you meet someone for the first time, you feel like you've known them forever. And you and I just clicked, man. It was like we had this connection, and you're doing incredible work. Obviously, I mean, one of the world's leading photographers in the swimming space. I don't know anyone that's better, so that's the way I put it. But I mean, you were doing fantastic work, and you were working with Team Elite at the time, and we just connected, man. We clicked, and we've been friends ever since, right?
Absolutely. And hey, first, that's super. That's very gracious of you to say.
Really, well, who's better? I mean, come on, let's be serious, Mike. I mean, there's levels here, right? We're at different levels, man. Like when you talk about me being one of the world's best sprinters, in my time I was. When you talk about me being one of the world's leading coaches, I was, in sprinting. So it's like you got to give credit where credit's due. You're just one of the best, if not the best, in the world at what you do in the swimming space, mate. And so, in regards to that, how did you get into swimming photography?
Well, it's interesting because I've been asked this question before, and I don't know. I mean, I can't say there was a time like where I sat down and said, "Hey, this is where I'm going." Cameras had always been around when I was a kid. Since I was like little kid. I can't remember the first time I picked one up, but they were always around. I mean, my parents weren't artists. My parents weren't photographers, but cameras were a thing. And for whatever reason, they tended to find their way into my hands. And so I remember taking pictures as a kid. And then I remember coming up in age group swimming and, taking little Instamatic cameras down to the pool and just, trying to get sort of what at the time was the elusive head-on butterfly shot, right?
Right.
And, you're doing it with this little tiny Instamatic camera, and, you're just clicking. And with hopes that, of course, I'm going to get that shot. And so it kind of started that way. But the way it really kind of just really fast forward through my life and my career. But I had spent a good part of my professional life working in Olympic sport management. And at one point after my time in Colorado Springs, I was given an opportunity to come back and be the general manager at the Mission Viejo Natadors. And so with these cameras always riding on the side and then getting there at the Natadors, it was an opportunity for these two worlds to sort of intersect. And they were doing tier. Mission Viejo was a tier team at that point, and tier a lot of the commercial shoots there. And as general manager, I would be there to sort of facilitate, just making sure that facility access and everything was where it should be, and had an opportunity to kind of watch and observe and just truly become captivated. And so it sort of blossomed from there.
Yeah, well, it's blossomed into a career that, like I said, you're widely respected in the community. And you've also talked about certain times recently, you and I have had conversations where you've even mentored some younger photographers. When a younger photographer comes to you and wants mentorship, through the things that you've learned and the mistakes you've made and the lessons you've learned, like, what are you doing when you're mentoring a young photographer?
I think it's just, trying to pass down or pass to the sort of the people that are coming up, because, my ride's not going to last forever. None of our ride will last forever. It's going to end sometime, but hopefully we're going to leave a legacy.
Right.
And so it's really trying to sort of pass on, I think, a reverence for the sport. I have a lot of reverence for swimming. Swimming means it's a centerpiece of my life. It's something I just came from the pool.
Yeah.
And so really,
you and me both. I didn't come from the pool, but you and me both. Yeah, it's a centerpiece.
but with that reverence, it's like passing on, the respect, the processes, the fact that, you put the sport first. One of the things that I've tried to live by, and I'm certainly not perfect, man. I come up short. Don't get me wrong, but I really try to live by the sort of the kind of the general. I wouldn't say it's an adage, but it's more just a philosophy that it's not about me. It's about in a mirror that reflects back how cool and interesting swimming is.
Right.
Living most of my life in San Diego, I kind of have a sort of foot in my surfing life and then my swimming life. And surfing does a great job of sort of holding back its imagery and showing how cool it is. Now, granted, surfing is exceedingly aspirational.
Yeah.
And so perhaps it's a bit easier, but it's sort of taking that thing and kind of going, hey man, swimming's cool. Let's put a mirror back and show how cool and interesting the sport is. So passing that on to people and trying to kind of represent that. As I said, I come up short, man, but I try to do it through my actions, through my words, and then through the work that comes out of the lens.
I mean, we're all at that point in our lives, right, where we're always trying to improve. We're never at a point where we're settled and satisfied and not making mistakes and not learning. And like, it's just part of life, man. It's growth. So when you say you come up short, like you also hit in a lot of areas too through your experiences. And so when when you talk about reverence, when you're thinking in that realm, when it comes to swimming and you've got a camera in your hand, and you're on the deck, what are you looking for? What are you trying to capture and say to, a potential audience that'll see your photos?
It's really interesting because it's more about sort of being in this place of seeing as opposed to looking. And the difference is not just in the semantics, but it's sort of in the process. When you're looking, you're kind of seeking. And I feel like that sort of is, it doesn't work for me. It may work for others. This isn't a judgment thing. It's more about what works for my style. So it's sort of letting it come to me. But I think really showing the power, the intensity, the fun, the laughter, whether it's in someone's reaction immediately after they hit the wall or their interactions with their coaches and teammates as they walk off the deck or coming from the ready room. Those are all things that when we're talking about working around various events, that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. I'm looking for stuff that says swimming. But again, it's not as much about looking, it's about seeing it. So really kind of letting that just sort of come through because it's there. You really don't have to look for it necessarily. You have to see it. So let it come to you. That's kind of the approach that I try to take.
Right. Well, listen, you're in a prime position too, but you're in America, which is the #1 swim country and team in the world. So you have the best athletes to work with, and you're working a lot of the time with USA Swimming. You're on the deck and you're traveling with them, and you're at camps for, let's say, the Olympic team. So you're around these Olympic athletes. You're around the best athletes in the world. So, in terms of the cream of the crop, you've got some nice talent to work with too, some good people to photograph. So, what has been your experience in the time that you've been in that world where you've been able to work with the best athletes? What have you learned from that experience?
That above anything that they do in the pool, they're better people. They're just incredibly cool people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the beautiful things about swimming. As I said, I have a tremendous reverence for it. My closest friends, yourself included, come from the world of swimming. And so one of the things that is ever present is just great people, interesting people, people who have, of course, accomplished and reached the pinnacle of their, relative events.
Yeah.
But the thing that impresses me is just the people and the humanity. that's out there.
Well, it's great that you get a chance to capture that too, because we're not represented that well, right? Like I have a podcast that, is worldwide that we started because I wanted to spread the word on swimming and share stories. You take photographs that are timeless of these incredible athletes that they're going to be able to look back on, and their children and their children's children are going to be able to look like that stuff is forever lasting. The images that you're taking and the way that you're capturing the sport. There's hundreds of photographers on the sideline at a NFL game or a basketball game or a hockey or the big sport, the four big sports. The other one is basketball. What was the other? No, basketball and baseball. That's the other one. So they're the four big sports in America. But like America's had the best swim team for half a century. It's just like, so these athletes are now getting a chance to be captured by you, which is going to be timeless, which I think is so powerful. And I guess in that, this conversation came up, right, between a couple of friends, myself and Nate, who's the producer of this podcast, and then you, and we were talking about this concept, right, of like the impact that you make and your photographs make, and how we can have a much more lasting kind of influence on the world of swimming and swim is in the future. And this conversation around swim posters came up, and so talk to me about kind of how that kind of all came about.
Well, as you recounted, I mean, I can't remember exactly what point it was. I don't know if about a year ago or it was early in the year. But it was somewhere within that general time frame.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you and Nate about different ideas, and Nate came out and said, posters, do posters. And I was like, I've said, hey, posters are still a thing. And you guys assured me that it was. And so what you did is you planted a seed. And from that seed, I went forward and I started talking to a number of recently retired and current national team swimmers. And I started with Nathan Adrian. I called him up and we talked for a while. He was really gracious, and as he is. And he started the process with his support, and then then eventually I went to Murphy, and from Murphy I went to Dressel, and then I went into Olivia Smoliga and Regan Smith, and you just basically went through the network of the National Olympic team, and everybody was super supportive, and they said, hey, I had posters when I was a kid. Posters were a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Having Michael and Ryan on my walls is what kind of inspired me to keep going, to wake up early, to sort of keep my head down and charge forward toward my goals. And so I thought about it, that hey, this is an opportunity to do what I said earlier, which is sort of reflect back and really share, because that's a big part of who I am. I want to share.
Yeah.
I want to help, hopefully, just be one relatively small influence in the world that makes things a little bit better. And so if I can share a dream and help kids dream,
right, and
help people engage with and participate in this sport that you and I have reaped so many benefits from. And I think that you and I will both agree that it is far less the medals or any particular time that we accomplished.
Yeah.
It's really the friendships and the relationships that sustain us to this day. And so if I can have or sort of provide a mechanism that can help people realize the benefits that you and I realized and that so many other swimmers are realizing, that just aligns perfectly with my values.
Yeah, no, it does. And that was part of the conversation, actually, is like, you were not interested in starting a business. This is not a business venture by any means. This was a conversation between people that care about swimming, love swimming. And what we were saying to you is, Mike, you have the best photographs in the world. They're just sitting in your office. Like, why wouldn't you share those with the world? And you said, is swimming posters a thing? Well, no, it's not a thing anymore. It just wasn't. It's not. It's a dying art. And when I grew up, I did have swim posters on my wall. I had the Matt Biondi's, and I had the, Rowdy Gaines and these sorts of people that I looked up to. We had the posters on the wall, and those just disappeared in the last 10, 15 years. And so what I said and what we said to you is like, Mike, you've got the best images with the best athletes, and why wouldn't you want to inspire the next generation to put these images on the wall and look up to these kids and these athletes, and then aspire to want to be them? That's giving back. That's influencing. It's the same with my podcast. It's like people always talk to me about the numbers. What's the numbers? How much did you get on that? How much? I don't care. I don't care if one person watches my podcast or if 100,000 people watch it. If I'm sharing a story and I'm telling somebody else's story, then I've affected the world in a positive way. And that's what you're doing with your swim posters here, Mike, is that you're capturing the essence of somebody and you're sharing that. And then somebody's looking at that. A young kid is saying, that's who I want to be. You're creating heroes, men and women, and I just think you've done a brilliant job with it. I did ask you to pull a poster out before we hit record here. So you got something you can show us right there?
I do. I have of all the cool people. This is certainly one of my favorites out there, and I'm going to do my best, because one of the cool things about these posters is they're not like your typical, the sort of the typical poster that you might experience if you had like rock posters or other posters are real flimsy. These are super thick, heavy stock photo paper. But this is Jay Litherland. So this is one of the ones and one of the first ones that I produced, and I'm just so excited because Jay, as I said, so many cool and interesting and great people out there in the sport. Jay is a blast and so much fun. I mean, I think almost everybody would say, hey, who's the coolest guy out there right now? I bet most swimmers would line up and say, yeah, Jay's got it going on.
He's a good dude.
Super fun, super fun. So yeah, that's one of the posters right now.
Yeah, well, I bought one of another cool guy that I think is one of the cooler guys, Tom Shields. You got him at the bottom of the pool blowing some bubble rings. It's a beautiful image. But again, I think what you've done is you've taken the concept of kind of the swim poster, where it's mainly just a profile picture, right? And you've incorporated into an action shot, so it's them in action as well. So not only are you capturing the athlete, you're capturing them doing what they do best at the moment they do it best, and so I love that. So like for me, it's so inspiring to see these athletes, in action, and you've captured that moment for them. How's the feedback been from the athletes themselves when they get to see themselves on a poster?
Everybody's been super supportive. I mean, it truly has been moving. That the reception has just been fantastic everywhere that I've gone since launching. I think I can't remember the exact date, but it was at some point in October.
Right.
Once I got back out at certain events, people, and in fact, this last weekend at the U.S. Open, so many people coming up and just really expressing their support and their interest. It means a lot. And I think another thing that is important to hit on, Brett, is when we talked, at that point, I was just exposed to the effective altruism movement, really giving back in ways that make meaningful difference. And, I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not going to be starting some massive campaign to kind of solve malaria and fix these problems. But I started to think about, hey, what can I do in my way to give back? And, so when I built this thing, I built it on the premise that from the start, 10% of the proceeds are going to be going to support mental health services for children and adolescents. And it's not like a phase thing. This is like forever, as long as this is out there. And, in fact, in my wildest dreams, should this explode, I'd love to even turn over more and larger percentages in service to others, because giving back, particularly in the realm of mental health, means a lot to me. I've certainly had my struggles in life. A lot of us have. And if it wasn't for all of the wonderful people, the services that I've been able to bring to bear in my life, you know, it gives me the good fortune to do what I do and be able to give back and potentially help others. That's a big part of this. So it's about sharing a dream, but then also in service to this specific charity.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, man. Well, that's just who you are. You know, you weren't going to do this unless there was something like that attached to it, and so you're an upstanding individual when it comes to that, my friend. And I think that's why people love and respect you a lot. And you got a lot of supporters out there. Now, in terms of the posters themselves, tell us where people can find them.
You can find them at swimposters.com. It's that easy.
Swimposters.com. Okay.
So,
And how many different athletes do you have on there now?
Oh, geez. Oh, I should know that exact number.
It's probably around 20, I'd say, wouldn't it be?
We're there. At least I've got at least 20 that have agreed, and more are agreeing. You know, as every week that goes by.
Lilly King's on there.
Yeah, Lilly King's on there. Caeleb's on there. Annie Laser's on there. Just at the top of my head, Olivia Smoliga, Jay Litherland, Chase Kalish.
Have you thought about going international? Do you have international photos, or are you just?
Yet, but I'm going to. And I've had a few internationals reach out to me and said they want to be a part of it, and I certainly I certainly want to have more. I have sort of 3 categories: sort of U.S. All-Stars, legends, and then I want to have world team. So I want to have people from around the world that are part of this as well, because I want us all to be a part of it. I want us all to feel like stakeholders that is sort of planting the seed. As I said, you know, earlier in this conversation, all of our rides will end someday, and that's not to be morbid. It's just to be real. And so how do we keep this thing going?
Yeah.
You know, not just take what we can take right now, but how can we plant seeds to give back?
Yeah.
And so if we can all do that, and the more of us that participate in this, it just makes it a richer and more fulfilling experience, I think, for all of us. It certainly does for me.
Yeah.
So that's
cool.
kind of the genesis of how this whole thing came about.
Can people order them internationally, even though you don't have international athletes? Can someone in Australia order a poster?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So there's worldwide shipping that people can order internationally. So it's not just limited to the US.
Well, I told you, I mean, growing up, I had a couple of American guys on my wall. Like I can imagine a bunch of people would want a Jay Litherland, Caeleb Dressel, or Lilly King, whatever it is, you know, like these guys are heroes, and you know, the swimming world heroes.
Nathan and Ryan, I got to talk about those guys too.
Nathan, Ryan,
supporting this. It's Cullen, you know, I've got him. I saw Cullen this last weekend, so supportive in all of this. I truly am moved, man. I can't believe this is my life. I feel like I'm yanking on the lane line of life, you know? You know, well, a swimmer knows what I mean when I say yanking on the lane line. You know, get that little advantage. You just get that extra little push. It feels really good, man.
Well, you've had a massive impact, and I hope this is your lasting legacy. I hope this is kind of the one that kind of hits home to people, where, you know, there's kids all around the world that have your posters on their walls, and they dream to be swimmers, and they aspire to be just like the heroes. And you know, we have the Paris Olympics coming up, so I'm sure there'll be an explosion in swimming after the Olympics. There usually is. That first year after the Olympics is always kind of so much excitement around it. So I hope it really takes off in the future. I think people need to get on there. Like I said, I've got my own posters. I don't have my own poster. You know, I haven't been invited to be part of the legends yet. I don't know what I have to do to get into the legends category. No,
we got to get you in the pool, and you come down to San Diego. We'll do a dedicated photo shoot with you, my friend.
Yeah, we could. No, I don't know about that, because with no, listen, you've got some worthy people in there, and some good stuff. So that's really cool. I hope it explodes and we can get more of it out there. But swimposters.com, cool stuff. Now listen, what have you got coming up in the near future for you?
In the near future is going to be, I'm going to retreat out to the desert with my dog, go out to Death Valley here in a couple weeks and catch the new moon again, and just be out there in nature. You know, that's kind of how I end the year.
Do you photograph nature at all?
I do. I
Oh,
really enjoy it. I love astrophotography has become something that I started to explore last year. I'm doing more of it, and it's a blast. So that's what's going to keep me busy through the end of the year. Certainly, I'm wrapping up some things from the business perspective. And then we'll just sort of kick into the next cycle as we get into 2023. So going to be doing a lot of stuff with USA Swimming again.
Good stuff.
So I just, yeah.
Well, you're also on the Any Question app, which is who I work for full time, and you're on the app, and people can find you there. They can not only can they ask you questions, but they can go on there and listen to answers that you've given. You've given over 100 answers now on the platform, and some really informative stuff on there. Really cool stuff. Learn about photography. There's some incredible photographers on the app, and it's not just photography. There's sports and health and wellness, and so get on the app and check that out. But go on there specifically and ask Mike questions because there's a lot to learn from you. If you're a young photographer, tons to learn there as well. So, mate, I appreciate everything you're doing for me always. I love our conversations away from the camera, and just a good friend, man. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, man. I'm really, really grateful for what you've given me, and I'm grateful to so many others. And I'd be remiss in not giving a public thank you right now to my buddy Mel Stewart, who was a big part in help kicking me forward in my career, and supporting me along the way. And so him, you, David, so many others, Jack Roach, I could go on and on and on. We could just name drop for hours.
Well, it's a community, man. That's the thing, right? It's a community.
The gratitude that I feel is just, it really just pours from me. And I'm so fortunate, man.
Yeah. Well, it comes out in your photography. It speaks the truth. So it's good stuff, man. All right. Swimposters.com. Appreciate it. Get out there, get yourself a poster. Mike, good catching up with you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
See you, man. We individualize training in the pool, so why not individualize your nutrition? Erica Beine of Beine Wellness Building will help you and your swimmers get exactly what each athlete needs through genetic testing and personalized nutrition plans. So stop guessing what you should and shouldn't be putting into your body. Athletes within a few weeks have noticed they're recovering faster because they're fueling their body with what they need and staying away from what their body hates. Erica understands swimming. She gets it. She's worked with over 20 Olympians, including the fastest man in the world, Caeleb Dressel. Group discounts are available, so go to Beine Wellness Building and get in touch with Erica today. That's Beine, B-E-I-N-E, wellnessbuilding.net.